In this leatherworking guide, I want to discuss the quickest ways to level up your leatherworker in Final Fantasy XIV. And before we get started with the actual guide, I wanted to discuss some quick tips for leveling quicker. So the first thing I wanted to discuss is the company issue engineering manual. It does give you 40,000 bonus experience points over time. You get 50% boost the last 2 hours. You really want to do that through levels 1 to 30 if you can afford it. They do cost Grand Company seals, but they really are beneficial, especially if you don't have too many seals. At least try to get one from 1 to 15. It makes a huge difference. And next thing I wanted to talk about is food. Raw oyster is a good food to use. It's very cheap, and it gives you 3% experience point bonus, just like all food, and the extra control will help give you some extra experience as well. So as far as your gear goes, the most important slots are going to be your main hand and your offhand. When you're leveling up, you're going to want to put as much effort into acquiring good level weapons and offhands because they provide most of your stat points. So as you can see, the bulk of my score is determined just by these two slots. All these other slots don't really matter nearly as much. And it's the same case when you're leveling up. So you don't have to put too much time or money into getting the best, armor and ring slots. I would just have 2 or 3 sets that you can go with through, your whole trip to 50. One set in like the level 10 to 15 range, one at the 25 range, and one at like the 35 range. And that's really all you need to go all the way to 50. And finally, when you are crafting, you should know that the higher your quality score is, the more experience points you get. So try to improve quality when crafting to cut down on the number of syntheses you need to level up, because otherwise Leatherworker gets really expensive. So the best way to level up your Leatherworker is going to be through the Repeatable Leaves. And these are leaves that you can do multiple times, and I'll just show you one real quick. So there's 2 places to get these leaves. One is at a leveling camp dependent on your level, and one is going to be in Gridania. You can get one for every 5 levels always in Gridania, and that's just because that's where the Leatherworking Guild is. Or Guild, I should say. So finally, when you talk to this person, you can see when you're a Leatherworker, the Repeatable Leaves always have this card here. Can't really see it, but more importantly, if it's a regular item, they usually want 3, and if it's material like leather, they want 5. That's another way you can tell. So you can get these here, and you can also get these in Gridania. So next thing I want to discuss is what's the best one for each level range. So at level 20, you could either go to Gridania and make Aldgoat leather, or go to Quarry Mill and make hard leather sassy. You definitely want to do Gridania at level 20. It's just a lot cheaper and it's a lot easier. And you also want to do Gridania at level 25. So the Quarry Mill leaves are going to pretty much skip over. They're just not that good. And at level 30, you have the choice between Toad Leather and Goatskin Chokers. And Toad Leather is going to be in Gridania, Goatskin Chokers is going to be in Costa del Sol. That is in Eastern La Nocia. Let's pull it up here for you. And that's going to be right here, Costa del Sol. And that is definitely the best Leve in Costa del Sol. So again, level 30, go to Costa del Sol. That will be in the description, because the Goatskin Choker is so much cheaper than Toad Leather. Toad Leather is very expensive. So at level 35, you have the option between Boar Leather and Boarskin Chokers. Gridania is going to be where the Boar Leather is, and that's going to be your best bet for sure. It's pretty much the same cost as the Boarskin Choker, and it's just so much more convenient. So I really like to do the Boar Leather there. Then at level 40, you can go to the Gridania Leve is kind of expensive, so I recommend going to Corthus. And at Whitebrim here, you can turn in Peiste leather. Not quite sure how to say that, but that is very inexpensive. Peiste skin is very cheap, and you can make it yourself, or you can buy it off the market boards. And finally, at level 45, we're going to go to Mordana at St. Coinach's Find here. And that Repeatable Leve is going to have Raptor leather. So that's going to be your best bet there. So I wanted to show you a quick trick for these Repeatable Leves. Usually something like Raptor skin is sometimes expensive. Right now it's very cheap on my server, So this is actually a good time to buy, whereas Raptor leather is kind of expensive. It's not always this way. Sometimes it's the opposite. So you can get Peiste leather here for 255 gil for 15, and between the skin, the aluminum, and the shards, well, the skin's cheap now too. So sometimes it's just cheaper to buy the leather. So check. So boar hides are kind of cheap right now on my server, and boar leather is actually pretty cheap too. So it's like you could buy boar leather and then aluminum that's going to run, and then the shards, that's going to run almost 500 gil per leather. Or alternatively, you could just buy boar leather off the market boards for much cheaper. Alternatively, you could even go up to the high quality stuff. Actually, usually sell this a lot because it's good for leveling players. And you can buy a stack of 99 of this. I mean, it's kind of expensive, but you'll get about half of that gil back in the gil rewards from churning it in, plus the random boar hides and whatever other goodies you get, or shards for churning in the pre-crafted leather. So that's a good tip. It really depends on your prices. But sometimes you can get boar leather and raptor leather for so cheap that you could almost make a profit just by buying it and turning it in. So that's something good to know. So just a quick refresher. Level 20, Gridania. Level 25, Gridania. Level 30, Costa del Sol. Level 35, Gridania. Level 40, Whitebrim. Level 45, St. Coinach's Find. Okay, so the last thing I want to discuss is grinding. And grinding as a leatherworker is not very profitable, or it's very expensive. It's obviously not profitable. But some players, if you've used up all your Leve allowances, you might want some options. So it's particularly effective at the lower levels where recipes are so cheap to do. So from levels 1 to 5, just make leather. You can vendor it when you're done. You can buy this from the guild supplier. So from levels 5 to 13, you should make hard leather. Buy the animal hide off the guild supplier and just go ahead and sit there and scent it. And from levels 13 to 17, you can make this, hard leather choker. You can buy beast sinew off the guild supplier, and you've already made hard leather from grinding before. That can take you all the way to 17. So once you hit 17, we can just make a bunch of Aldgoat leather. And you can either save this for later grinding, or you can churn it in for the repeatable leave. There is a repeatable leave in Gridania for Aldgoat leather. We had discussed that earlier, so they kind of go hand in hand. But alternatively, you can save it for this. You can do Aldgoat leather all the way up to level 24, and then you can use it for this goatskin choker. It only needs one Aldgoat leather. Diorite sinew is very cheap on the market boards. And then you can make this, and you can actually churn this in Costa del Sol at level 30. 3 of these is one repeatable leave. So it's a great way to level through those areas. Do some Aldgoat leather, do some repeatable leaves, do some goatskin chokers, do some repeatable leaves for these items. So you get experience both ways. So after 30, grinding is extremely expensive. I don't really recommend it. From 30 to 35, you can do boar leather, and then you can churn in some of that boar leather for the repeatable leave. That's going to be a good option. And then from level 35 to 36, if you're having trouble making Peiste leather, you can go ahead and make this boarskin choker, and the boarskin choker will actually work for the Observatorium repeatable leave. It's not recommended over boar leather, but if you really want to maximize experience by grinding, you might as well make the boar leather and then convert it into boarskin choker, just because it's about the same it's about the same cost, but you'll get more experience from crafting it twice. To me, I like the convenience, but if you're trying to save leaves, this is a good option as well. And then from 36 to 40, you're just going to grind off Peiste leather. It's so cheap. Peiste skin is cheap. We've already established that. And then once you save all that up, you can go to Whitebrim and churn that in with the repeatable leaves. I'd recommend churning it all in. You can go all the way to level 45 or so if you grind off of this for a couple levels. And you can go to 45 in an hour. Since it stacks up to 99, it doesn't take up much space. It's pretty nice. And finally, you can make Raptor leather from 40 plus. Make it all the way to 50. Once you hit 45, you can churn in all your saved up Raptor leather for the repeatable leave, and hit 50 pretty easily that way. So that's it for the leatherworking guide. This is a expensive professional level, but with this leveling path, it's not too bad. It's really nice because you can see all these level 50 recipes. It makes most armor for most professions and gathering. It also has some good level 70 gear. The the ring in particular, the item level 70 ring is pretty good. A lot of players like to use that. So just throwing it out there. Level up your Leatherworker. Waste Not 2 is not extremely useful. It's a 50 ability, but the profits you can make from the craft works out well. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and I'll see you in the next one.